Hey there, Laura here from Get Organized HQ, and I want to have a little chat with you today. To be honest, I'm a little nervous about this because I think it could be a little bit controversial. And if you know me, I'm not really into controversy, but I think this is something that really needs to be said because it is something that can affect us a lot. And I think there's some wildly popular organizing advice out there, and this advice has a time and a place, okay? And I'm going to get to that. I am not saying that if this advice works for you, you should throw it out the window and change everything today. That is not the case. However, I think it could be misleading people because at least in the circles that I have seen, it is kind of held up as like the gold standard of like decluttering and organizing and home maintenance. And it's not always the best way to do it. So I'm just going to come out and say it. So the popular advice is to declutter and organize your home a little at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself by taking on big projects. Don't try to do it all at once. Don't try to, it's a marathon, not a sprint, just a few minutes a day, just one item a day. Like, this is what we hear all the time. But let me tell you, this is not how I usually do it. I think it works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for me. And I'm not the only one. If I had to guess, and I don't have any scientific results to necessarily back this up, but if I had to guess, I would say the little at a time worked for about 70 to 80% of people, and 20 to 30% of us that's actually going to hold us back. And let me explain exactly why. So I'm going to start by telling you all the benefits that I see and that I personally get from the all at once strategy of decluttering and organizing. And after that, I'm going to point out the pros of the little at a time. So you can figure out what's right for you. We also have a quiz that takes this into account. If you want to find out your type, you can go ahead and click the link below to take the quiz. The cactus blossoms and the sunflowers, that's what I am, are the all at once people. And I will tell you from the results of that quiz that we are not in a majority, but we are there. So if you want to find your tribe of all at oncers, you're in the right place. All right. So the number one benefit to the all at once method is that you just literally get faster results. So if I am going to spend, let's say, 3 hours a day for 1 week, that's 21 hours of decluttering and organizing. Versus if I were to spend 15 minutes a day organizing, it would take a very long time to get that 21 hours. In fact, I need my calculator. All right, so 21 times 60, that's 1,260 minutes divided by 15-minute chunks. It would take you 84 days or 3 months to make the same amount of progress that you could make in 1 week. So just literally, there are faster results, and hey, that's nice. Okay, next up, I want to point out that sometimes it's necessary to get it done fast. Like a lot of times, it taking months or years is totally fine. But every once in a while, there is a scenario in which you really don't have that much of a choice. Like your house is a disaster zone and you have company coming over, or you're hosting a graduation party or something like that, and it just needs to happen. Or, I mean, it may be necessary in some cases for someone's mental health or move ins, move out. There are just times when it's inevitable, and vice versa, to be fair, is true. Sometimes there isn't a way to find enough time to do it all at once, but sometimes you're just going to have to. This is probably the biggest reason why I prefer the all at once is that it's simply way more motivating. I don't stick with the little at once. I'm not going to stick with something for 84 days. Like, no way. And part of that is because it takes weeks to see meaningful results. So we cleaned up our classroom just yesterday in 1 day. Now, it's not perfect yet, but we made a huge, huge dent. Had I been doing 15 minutes a day, I wouldn't have stayed motivated because I would have gone in there day after day after day, and the progress wouldn't have even been noticeable because it was truly out of control. And so being able to see visible progress in the first day or two is very motivating versus if it takes a long time to see results, it's just not as motivating. The more all at once method lets you capitalize on your positive momentum. So if I set a timer for 15 minutes, I'm just getting started. Like the first 15 minutes is the hardest. The second, the third, the fourth, the fifth is way easier, at least for me. Now, this may be really dependent on your personality type, but for me, I'm just getting started in those 15 minutes and I am motivated and ready to keep going. And why would I cut that off? So I kind of arrange my schedule a little bit more so that I can really give focused energy to something for a longer period of time. Not just with home organization, but even with things like filming these videos. I don't usually just do one at a time. With work, I usually work really hard for a couple weeks on work projects and then I work really hard for a couple weeks on home projects. I kind of arrange my life like that. I know that not everyone has as much flexibility in their situation and in jobs, but to the extent that you do, I might recommend that because I don't want to cut off that positive momentum and I'm more productive and get more things done in that second 15 minutes and beyond than I do in the beginning. Another thing is that by doing it in a concentrated manner, it literally takes less time overall because you don't have that stop and start time. You can just keep going and you can do things with greater efficiency. So, for example, when I went into my craft room, one thing that we have a ton of is puzzles. I love to do puzzles. I like to redo puzzles, so I keep a lot of my puzzles. And over time, we had random piles over here and over there and in the closet and over there. And I knew exactly where I wanted to put them. On an open shelf, I want to be able to see them, kind of have them displayed and go select one. But I couldn't get that all done in 15 minutes because I first needed to clear off the spot where those puzzles go. And I didn't want to just like put it all on the floor in front of the shelf. So I had to kind of deal with those items. Then I had to go to all these different places and gather up all the puzzles. Then I had to arrange them on the shelf. I couldn't have done it that efficiently. Had I been trying to break it into 15-minute chunks, I would have it would have taken longer overall because then I would have had to add some more puzzles to it. I would have had been able to gather them up. So you're just able to have some efficiencies that aren't really as possible with the little at a time method. One of the last reasons I love the all at once is I just enjoy it more. I'm excited. I look forward to my days of long decluttering. Not that there is going like it's not going to have some hard moments, but I'm excited. I look forward to it. And I'm not excited if I'm putting 15 minutes of decluttering on my schedule because I know I'm not going to see the big results. So I just like it more. Now, you may be the opposite, and that's totally fine. But how much you enjoy it makes a big difference. Now, I want to be really honest and balanced here and tell you that while I love the all at once method, it does have some of its flaws, and let's talk about what those are. And there are times in my life where I've had to do things a little bit, little bit at a time and haven't had the luxury of doing it all at once. So, number one is that this is probably the biggest one. Sometimes when we try to use the all at once method, we create bigger messes and we make things worse. And that's obviously not the goal here. But that is something that can very much happen in these situations because you're wanting to tackle it all at once. So you pull a whole bunch of stuff out, you make a bigger mess, and then you don't get around to putting it away. Now, there's not a perfect solution to that, but one thing I would say is be realistic with yourself. So if you have never in your life decluttered for more than 15 minutes at a time, that is not the time to pull out, 20 boxes worth of stuff. You can gradually work up. If you suspect you might be someone who thrives more on this method, I want you to work up a little bit more gradually. Let's not tackle the most extensive thing on day one and see what you really do have time to do. Also, on the bigger mess front, this is something I can live with in out of the way places. So, certain rooms, like if you have a storage room, it could probably be a mess for 3 or 4 weeks and no one's really going to care. Now, if the thing that I'm making a mess in is my kitchen, oh yeah, we all care. I'm not gonna create a situation where my kitchen is a total disaster for 2 weeks. I might let it be a disaster for 2 hours, but it's not gonna happen for 2 weeks. So I do have to do my kitchen in smaller chunks so that we don't end up with the bigger mess situation. Another huge reason that the little at a time might be a better choice for you is if you just get way too overwhelmed with the thought of, I'm going to go ahead and overhaul this room all this week. And if that's too overwhelming and you never even start, by all means, use the little at a time. Go ahead and set the timer. Just do 15 minutes at a time. And if you can get the satisfaction out of the progress you're making in those 15 minutes, that is amazing. And so if the big projects overwhelm you, you probably don't want to use this method. And for my personality, the big projects excite me. The bigger, the better. The bigger the mess, the more exciting. I'm like this in not just in the decluttering and organizing arena, but in other parts of life. I'd rather take on a big project than a little project. So know yourself. If you're like this in other arenas at work, if you're like, yeah, bring it on, give me this big project, then you might be an all at once kind of person. But if you in general get overwhelmed at the thought of big projects and they make you want to run away, then you're probably better suited for the little at a time. Now, also, differences in people is that some people may actually be more productive in those first 15 minutes. They don't get that positive momentum situation and they get kind of burnt out and their energy and especially mental energy gets used up in those first 15 minutes. And so their productivity is going to slow as they get longer and longer into a organizing session. In that case, you probably want to stick with a little at a time. Now, this is probably the single biggest argument I have in favor of the little at a time is that if you actually do it, so if you stick with it, and if instead of decluttering this space in 1 week, you take 90 days to do it in 15 minutes a day, you have already built in the habit of maintenance because you've already been giving it attention every day and you don't have to change anything to keep it up. But when we do the all at once, I gave it attention for 1 week. I haven't built in that habit, and it does sometimes get messier again sooner because I haven't built in that habit of maintaining it. Another huge reason people choose the little at a time is there are just limitations and you really don't have the luxury of the all at once. So maybe you have physical limitations. This was me for many years dealing with chronic illness. Like my body just it was very painful to move sometimes. So I didn't want to be in pain for 2 hours, but I could handle it for 15 minutes. Or I never knew in my situation when my chronic illness was going to flare. So I might have 3 good days and 3 terrible days. So I didn't want to create a bigger mess because I didn't know if tomorrow I would wake up and be physically capable of, continuing on with the project. So there are a lot of physical limitations, also lifestyle limitations, and time. So some of us have time that's a little bit more flexible, and we can totally engineer our weeks and our months so that we can tackle these things in big chunks. And some of us don't have that. Like when I was working a traditional 9 to 5 with a long commute, I didn't have 3 hours each weekday to devote to this. I did, however, have some time on Saturdays, so sometimes I would break something down into, like, one afternoon or one morning, or if I was really ambitious, I would do a whole Saturday. So I did that, but I didn't have, complete flexibility, and I realized that's the case for a lot of people. You just don't have any other choice, you don't have any big chunks of time, and so the only way it's going to get done is if you do it in 15 minutes a day. If that's the case, 15 minutes a day is vastly superior than none at all. So you absolutely can do that. And I just want to acknowledge because I have been there. If you are an all at once person that is in the situation where you don't have a choice but to do it a little at a time, it is kind of frustrating. I have been there. It's hard. Or, vice versa. If you are a little at a time person, but you're in a situation because that you have to get something done quickly, it is hard, but you can do it. And just recognizing that that's not really your personality, this is not how you thrive, but this is something we need to do for the time being helps you get it done and realize that, hey, we're working against our natural personality and our natural strengths here, but sometimes we just totally don't have the choice. Now, if you want to find out what your organizing personality is and you want to take a little quiz, we have our flower quiz for you, and you can find out cactus blossoms and sunflowers are the ones who are all at once, and lavenders and roses are the little at a time. So go ahead and take the quiz, and I would love it if you would let me know in the comments what your type is, and I would love for us to be able to unite and create a community of people who like to organize the same way we do.